Welcome back, everybody, to Maniacal Music Musings. I'm your host, Jeremy. As always, let me relay some of my youthful tales to you of being a castaway from society due to my love of scores for porn. In my acid memoirs, it was mio destino to write a love song for a witch. They say heaven's gonna burn your eyes. Well, shit, not as much as a witch rejecting your advances. I'll tell you, I need some plastic surgeons after that fucking one. I may not be the richest man in Babylon, but I'm more the outsider who's just plain blue. My co-host, however, from all that we perceive, loves being nude in the wilderness, covered in grease. A magical band of fools chases them after her all day long, but like a worm in a dog's heart, she hides away. She loves to pet the weak and powerless, but yet every week she stares me down with those rapist eyes like Pogo the Clown. Jaimie motherfucking full of folks.
Oh, you got me dead on right there. Just all that truth. Watch out, folks. Love it.
I had fun with that one, trust me.
That was
But
a good one.
folks, we are back again, and on a different night. What are you gonna do? It's a different night, but we love sometimes having a little variety in the show is a good thing. But and the guest we have tonight, folks, I couldn't have dreamed of getting this guest in the show, and all of a sudden we're here. Our guest tonight is Alan Katz, who is the writer of TV shows like Tales from the Crypt, and we just recently found out the creator of the Crypt Keeper. Oh, at least the Crypt Keeper we all know. Welcome, Alan.
True. Thank you. And Jeremy, that was an amazing piece of poetry you put together. That introduction. Bravo.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I try.
Oh, you
It's
did
not
better
always
than
easy.
try. Oh, you did more than try. You achieved.
Well, my album choice made it really easy tonight. But usually Jaimie gives me the album that makes it easy, but tonight it was mine. But folks, we are here to talk about 3 albums as always. But first, we gotta, let our guests let everybody know who they are a little bit. So, Alan, why don't you tell the folks at home what made you want to come on a music podcast?
Well, the concept is so much fun. Well, hey, it's such a cool idea. I'm glad that you guys thought I was interesting enough to have here sitting in the hot seat.
Yeah, I loved how little your profile said. That always stands out to me when someone has like so little information in their profile because it's unusual on podcast sites. Usually it's like 25,000 words about that person. I don't want to read all that. I want to just find out when I get them on the show. And when there's very little on the profile, but just enough to spark your interest, it's like, okay, this person I need to meet.
Well, in my business, in film and TV, first of all, you cut to the end of the chase. And writing screenplays, you learn very quickly to find your inner Hemingway, because screenplays really, you cannot have a whole lot of words on the page. No, you can't. It just doesn't work that way. So you learn to be super efficient as a storyteller.
Yes, which that makes sense. It really does.
And I got really lucky. In the way that I broke into the business, I got super lucky. And when I moved out to Los Angeles in 1985, one of the people that I hooked up with, let me rephrase it. One of the people that I met up with as a young writer was a producer named Gil Adler, and we became friends and we became writing partners. Gil was a producer, but he came out of theater, but he was trained as an accountant. So he understood, as a producer, if you have $1 to spend on your movie, don't spend $1 because you ain't got it. Now, if you can make your movie for 99 cents, still make it look like $1, great. Or 98 cents or 97 cents. Hey, if you could do it for 97 cents and make it look like $1.02 or $1.03, now you're on to something. And so Gil's nature as a producer wasn't to look, all creativity is problem solving. You're always solving a problem. So his answer to problem solving wasn't throw money at it. It was throw more creativity at it. And so Gil and I, as a creative team, that's how we problem solve. And Gil being a good producer, had solved a couple of problems for HBO and some difficult series they were having. And going into season 3 of Tales from the Crypt, that was a show that was having a problem. In fact, it was only supposed to last 3 seasons. When Gil and I went aboard, we were supposed to be putting it to bed, but we had different ideas and we ended up keeping it going for another 5 seasons. And part of why I think that happened is because as one of my jobs was to make sure that the TV show was redolent of the EC comics from the 1950s. And because the show had never gone through a development process like most TV shows, it was just these 4 big Hollywood mega movie producers went to HBO, which was really much smaller back then. This was long before The Sopranos or Game of Thrones, long before that, before Tales from the Crypt. They had 2 TV shows back then. They were movies, and they were dipping their toe into original creative programming. They had First and 10 and Dream On, which are basically just single camera shows with tits and the word fuck. That's the only thing that separated them from being on Fox or NBC. But these 4 mega producers said, we want to put, feature film vision inside little TV box, and HBO went, yeah, great, do it. And they just went right to work writing scripts. There was no development. Well, what's the show? How do we make sure that the EC Comics franchise is redolent here in the scripts? And no one did that. And the Crypt Keeper in the EC Comics is an old white guy with stringy hair. And they wanted to create something new for the TV series. And Joel Silver, one of the 4 mega producers, found Kevin Yeager, who created the Crypt Keeper puppet. And Kevin found John Kassir, who became the voice of the Crypt Keeper. But at no point, because there was no development process, did anyone ever ask the question, okay, so who is the Crypt Keeper and how are we going to write this guy? There was nothing like that happened. Whoever wrote the scripts for the first 2 seasons, they just threw some lines at the Crypt Keeper and that's what he said. When I went aboard in the 3rd season, one of my jobs was to make sure the franchise was always there in every episode, the Tales from the Crypt franchise. But my other job is to write the Crypt Keeper segments. And since no one had created the character, I was kind of stuck. Just to do my job, I was going to have to create a character because I didn't know how to write a cipher. And I loved old movies growing up. I loved the Marx Brothers. I loved Groucho Marx. And the Crypt Keeper became my little Groucho. And I had to fill the Crypt Keeper with a personality, and being a writer and therefore lazy, I filled him with the closest thing at hand, which was me. And so literally I poured me into him. And so it looks like the puppet. It sounds like John's voice, but every word that came out of his head, everything that he said was me. And during that 3rd season, something weird happened. Yeah, HBO changed its mind. They didn't cancel the show. They ordered a bunch more seasons. Universal Pictures ordered a couple of feature films. We did a really good movie called Demon Knight. Terrific movie.
Classic.
Yeah. I mean, Billy Zane is amazingly good. Jada is great in the movie. Bill Sadler's wonderful. Ernest Dickerson, great job directing. It's just a terrific movie. And we were supposed to make a whole other movie for the 2nd feature. Gil and I had developed a script. It was called Dead Easy. The mandate from Universal Pictures was make 3 different movies. And Gil wasn't a horror guy, and I'm not a horror guy, but okay, we were, doing great in the horror world. We wanted, for the 2nd Crypt movie, we wanted to kind of prove to the town that we weren't just one-trick ponies. We could do something other than horror. So we wanted to do something horror, but something else as well. And so Dead Easy was this taut psychological thriller that was about a recovered memory. It took place in the swamps outside New Orleans, had a wonderful villain, this Harlequin character, and Universal Pictures was into it. They said, start making it. So we went. We spent months in New Orleans prepping the movie. We were casting. We hired a young unknown actress named Salma Hayek to play the female lead.
Nice.
3 weeks before the start of principal photography in New Orleans, Universal said, stop, don't spend another penny, come home. And we got back to Los Angeles and they put a script in front of us. They said, you're going to make this instead. It was called Bordello of Blood.
Oh
And
God.
you still start in 3 weeks, guys, because your release date hasn't changed. Now, where did Bordello of Blood come from? At about this time, a new studio called DreamWorks had come into being. That was Steven Spielberg leaving his deal at Universal, not the lot, but his deal at Universal, and becoming a separate studio. And he began making deals with other talent. And Universal was desperately afraid of losing another piece of talent to DreamWorks. One of my executive producers, Bob Zemeckis. Bob did Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Polar Express. Universal went to Bob and they said, Bob, we love you at Universal. What can we do to make you stay? And I don't know any other part of the deal. It was good enough. Bob stayed. I know one deal point. Universal Pictures agreed to buy the first student script that Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, the future Back to the Future guys, ever wrote when they were film students at USC for $500,000. It was called Bordello of Blood. It was a deal point. It was just a way to put some money into Bob's pocket as part of this larger deal. And that was supposed to be the end of it. But Universal said to themselves, wait, we're just going to eat this $500,000? Nah, wait a minute. Bob is about to executive produce this other horror movie, this Dead Easy thing. Oh, we spent what, $50,000 on this script? Fuck that shit. We'll take it out of their budget. You're not doing that movie, guys. You're making Bordello of Blood. Hey, it's got Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale's name on it. It's bigger than Alan Katz and Gil Adler. And so the whole creative team, we went from making a movie that all of us were passionate about. We were dying to make. We wanted to make this movie for 1,000 different reasons, to making a student film that none of us wanted to make. And the story of Bordello of Blood is making Tales from the Crypt was an incredible creative experience. Everyone who ever did that show would tell you as they look back on it, it was great. It was everything you want a creative experience to be because of all the freedom we had. And Bordello of Blood was its literal diametric opposite. Everything was wrong. When you make a movie for that reason, because of a deal point, do not be surprised when every day is stupider than the day before it. And that's exactly what happened. And it was catastrophe. It was a catastrophe. Now, watching the movie, you'd never know. You would never know. It's just a, I don't know, bullshit little movie.
It's not great. It's not great. I'm not gonna lie. Bordello. I've seen Bordello Blood. It's not great.
Oh my god. No. No. There was no way. Look, no one who made the movie gave a fuck. So what kind of chance did it ever stand? But the making of the movie is an incredible story. It is hilarious. And that was my first podcast, the How Not to Make a Movie podcast, the one that started me making podcasts. In the first season, I told the story of the making of Bordello of Blood. And Entertainment Weekly called that the best film podcast of 2022. They're not wrong.
They're not.
I'm sure.
Of course they're not. That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
Since then, the How Not to Make a Movie podcast, I've talked to everyone that I know in the movie making business, but also all the other creative businesses, podcasting now, because hey, we all a business too, aren't we?
Yeah. Anyway,
Who would have thought podcasts back in the day? I would have never sitting on the couch watching what you wrote and your character of the Crypt Keeper. I would have never thought I'd be telling my dad right now that I'm talking to you on a podcast. He'd be like, "A what? A what?" I would have just never thought we'd be where we're at. So it's fun to think about how you were writing back then when my mind was just budding out before I got into everything I did with school and writing and journalism and play stuff. So it's fun to think about it in that term.
Definitely.
Well, thank you. It that it touched people the way that it did, that people still have such a fondness for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My dad and I sat down and watched a lot of really cool stuff. HBO definitely was a great conversation starter for my dad and I. We watched a lot of boxing, watched a lot of stuff, listened to a lot of music. He introduced me to a lot. I can't say that he introduced me to this week's music of any of your guys' choices or mine, but I'm sure if I gave him some of the things we've gone over in general, he'd probably be like, "Okay, Jaimie." Music,
and that was a wonderful segue. Wonderful segue.
Yes, yes, great segue. And speaking of such, I gotta get into it because what album did you want to bring us, and why did you want to bring this one, Alan? I'm truly curious on this one.
I am a huge fan of Thievery Corporation. I live in Los Angeles. Our public radio station, KCRW, is fantastic at playing all kinds of great new music. And a gazillion years ago, when the first time I ever heard Thievery Corporation, I don't know, something about their eclectic sound. The first time I saw them perform live, whatever part of me wasn't hooked, I was completely there. There's just I love it. Like I said, the eclecticism of it, the worldness of it, the political part of it. I like that too, because I'm a political
There's something
creature.
polarizing. You don't know what to expect per song, but there's something polarizing about their vibe. I don't know. There's something about them that draws you in, I guess you could say. First time I ever heard them was you bringing this up as an album. So I won't lie. I was last week years old when I listened to this and it was great. Like a big difference, in what I would have chosen. So I like that. I like seeing and hearing something completely different.
And they were, for me, they were kind of an unusual choice when I first got into them. It wasn't necessarily where my taste was, but I don't know. That sound and all the different elements that they bring into it, I think they kind of educated my musical palette.
Yeah. Well, Jaimie, was that all your review, or did you want to add more to that?
Oh, well, my review for the album is just, like I said, you don't know what to expect from one song to the next. At least I didn't. And I liked that aspect of it. I felt like I had a different feel for almost every song. So I only gave it a 2.5 out of 5, but it's because I halfway liked it at times. And there was times I thought it was going to go a certain direction and it didn't. So I was kind of torn in half on how I felt about it. But I did have honorable mentions, which will be nice on top of my top 5.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I first listened to like little samples of it, try to figure out my album, I was like, "What the fuck am I getting myself in for on this one?" But as I put it on this morning, first thing at work, and like I had a bad start to my morning 100 times over, and by the time I got to work, I was just in a fucking mood. So I handled a few issues I had to deal with right away, and then before I started making calls, I like to relax to some music always. So I put this on, and I'm like, started to listen to it. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I don't even know what to feel right now. Like, what is this? Like, it's just, I mean, there are certain tracks where I feel like I'm watching a movie. There are certain tracks where I feel like I'm playing a video game. And there are certain tracks where I just feel like I'm somewhere, some of them I felt like I was in an elevator. That's for damn sure. But other ones, I'm just like
the video game, like a video game mission, like the Marios, where like the vibe changes per speed per part of the dungeon and sewers you're in. You say that, Jeremy, and it clicked to me now because I did feel that vibe. I can't remember which song it is now. There's one song that made me feel that way.
I could hear the song. I can think of freaking which one it is, but it's amazing.
But, all the elements of dub and trip hop and acid jazz. That's what a lot of these are just acid jazz grooves.
True.
Yeah. And I mean, I read that before I listened to him, so I was like, oh, jazz. I'm like, God damn it, Chancey would love this. I'm like, I gotta deal with this shit though. So I just played through it, and I'm like, what the? And it took me a while to get through it because it wasn't like one of those CDs where I'm dying to hear what the next track is always. Because I was like, some of the tracks like had me like going to sleep a little bit. Some of the tracks had me like kind of like nodding my head a little with it, and I'm like, all right, like this is a mixed bag for sure. This is definitely a mixed bag album, and but I mean, I have honorable mentions. I can't say that for one of the other CDs in this week, but I have honorable mentions for this one, and it's freaking. It was interesting. I mean, I'm gonna rate it, which I honestly don't even know if I can really do because it's still like I'm still trying to translate it in a way, but I mean, I'd easily would give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars because it's not something I want to go back and listen to every day for sure, but it's something there's a couple of tracks I put in my like list, and I'm like, if they come on while I'm driving, I'll let them play if I'm in a mood. Like it's just, I mean, especially if I had a couple hits, I'll fucking let them play in the car while I'm driving. Like it's come on now.
It's great when you're stoned. It's wonderful when you're stoned.
That's the thing. I mean, I was a little at that point today, but I just as every morning. But I mean, I don't know. I wasn't to that level yet where I would appreciate it more as much as I think I would if I was really like buzzing and I was just like sitting.
Well, I'll tell you when you're stoned and it's live, it is sublime.
I'm sure a band like this would be amazing to see live. Just sit there with a freaking cocktail in your hand and enjoy it. Like I would definitely be down for that. That's what I was thinking. That's what okay, you just remind me. That's actually what I was thinking for most of this album. I could see myself like sitting at a nice lounge or club, like having a few drinks, listening to like a band play this, and not complaining about it as I would with a lot of bands that play live. So that's definitely why
they came out of the club world. So yeah, that's but that's exactly right. It's a club. They're a club band. It's a club act.
I mean, so that's 100% the vibe I got out of it the whole time. Was I feel like I'm in a club or a lounge, but it was rather enjoyable. So I've heard a lot worse on this show than this one. So I will thank you for introducing me to it for damn sure because I'm happy I experienced it and actually now I know who these people are, and if I ever see them pop up again, I'll be like, oh, okay. I mean, it's
well, it's I'm glad I could introduce them to you and you to them.
But here's the fun part. Here's the fun part because I love asking guests as always. What are your top 5 songs for the album you wanted to bring?
All right. So my 5 favorite songs from that album, All That We Perceive, which is track 6, The Richest Man in Babylon, title track 11. Yeah, Meu Destino and Exilo, tracks 8 and 9, pretty terrific. And From Creation, I think that whole flow, just the way that those tracks all flow one into the other, is a pretty cool experience. You know,
that's funny you say that because they do flow into each other. I didn't even realize the tracks changed even until it got to like the track after the second one. Then I'm like, wait a minute, I went through 2 tracks at that time.
Yeah. There's just this lovely flow to it, and suddenly it's flowed, and yet the rhythm has shifted, and so you've gone from this into this, and then into this again. I find that a fascinating experience. There are other sequences that I really like. The first couple tracks, Heaven's Gonna Burn Your Eyes, into Facing East, into the Outer Nationalist. I think that's a nice flow too to start this journey. It's certainly, if you're unacquainted with it, it's got to be like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, when Heaven Burns Your Eyes, I kept with the title like that. I kept wanting to hear like the freaking like metal guitar drop in.
I'm sure. I wonder what a Dog Fashion Disco would do with a title like that.
Oh, I could honestly hear. That's the thing that there's a reason I picked them for this one, and I'll get into that when I get to mine. But it's just there's a reason, and it's this band reminds me a lot of them in a way. So that's why it's the first thing that came to my freaking head when I heard this album. But or even pieces of this album, it's the first thing that came to my mind. But Jaimie, what were your top 5 songs?
Okay, so like I mentioned, I had honorable mentions. I have Liberation Front for one, and Un simple history, however you say that in French. I suck at that, but I loved the song just because it was in French. It was a great time. So, my top five, though, my number five, the Meu Destino, that just had like a festive or mariachi feel. It had me like excited, had me moving around, had me just positive. Number four for me, All That We Perceive. There's something about this song that gave me Savage Garden vibes from 1996. So I was definitely feeling a vibe there. Number three, I did Omid. I did number two is The Outer Nationalist. There was something about that song that I was going back and forth between them, and number one for me was From Creation. I ended up liking those probably about the same, but I put my number one as From Creation. So overall, not a bad album. I felt like it definitely gave me different feels and different vibes. So this is one that if you put it in my rotation and it's throughout it, it'll definitely catch me at the right moments, I'm sure.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, funny thing is, I had some honorable mentions too in this one. First honorable mention was Un simple history. I'll say it in French.
I love how you say this. Try to be so much more smoother than me. Le Pepe Le Pew.
Do you want me to actually pronounce it?
Yeah, do it.
Yes, please,
sounds a lot better
please.
from you.
Un simple histoire.
See?
Un simple histoire. Is
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that shit. I can't do that shit.
Go.
But
okay.
But I like the sitar and bass line in that song a lot. It really was a catchy, like the sitar. I'm a sucker for a good sitar piece. So,
oh, you'd love them in concert. They always bring out a sitar.
Nice. And my number six was Mu Destino, because that was also a fun piece. I mean, my number five had to be the opening track, though. Heaven's Gonna Burn Your Eyes, because the lyrics in it were like kind of like creepy, and they called you in a way. Like that's my kind of shit. So I was like, fuck yeah. My number four was State of the Union, because I dug the politics in it. Like I love a good like I'm System of a Down. I'm a huge fan because of their politics and because I like hearing about them talk politics. So I mean, politics are freaking amazing in songs if they're done right. So number three and higher is when it got interesting though, because number three was Liberation Front, because the freaking melody in this song reminds me dead on of They Reminisce Over You by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Like the freaking like beat, like the trumpet beat in the background, like it. I heard that in Liberation Front so much. I was like nodding my head along with it at work. Like I'm like, this is a reminisce. But my number two was The Richest Man, Babylon. There is no hope left in your kingdom. Your servants have burned all their songs. Like I fucking love the lyrics in that song. Like it's amazing. But I love. I'm a fucking sucker for some nice dark lyrics like that. Like. But my number one it was 100% All That We Perceive, because that funky jazz rhythm to the whole song, and it kind of reminded me of like a mafia movie soundtrack. So I mean that's what I kind of got like Jaimie said, like I could see like one scene like almost like a Godfather like scene when like they're walking down the street to do something sneaky. But
it's funny you say that, because I think maybe one of the reasons that attracted me to them is that I'm being a filmmaker. I've always had to put music to images, and I find their music so rich. It just evokes so many images in my head. It would work. I could cut any number of things to any number of their tracks. It would be one. In fact, I would love to cut something to one of their tracks that would be, orgasmic. Creatively speaking, of course.
Yes, of course. No, I feel when that music matches like a photograph image or a movie image, when that music matches it, it makes a whole world of difference. So I get you on that. I guess I do have to say this would be a good one to match to some stuff. Now that I think about it, some backyard wrestling days, maybe.
I spend most of my days sound editing, cutting all the various podcasts that I do. So, putting music and words together is what I do so much of my time. And really, when you get it right, when you get that combination of just the right music, that kind of bed underneath, word, so you're really getting the emotional. You're really capturing it.
Yeah.
Oh, it really you've never mind, you hit one into the the parking lot beyond the fence. You hit it into the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. There's sometimes though that when I get stuck on the thought of what music would play right, or like even a character, like when I'm reading a book or I watch a movie and I'm like, this person would have been better, I can get stuck on it. So it's like I still need someone as a partner to shake me up and be like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but that does not work for this moment. So it's like I have to then have someone else push me in a different direction, because I can get stuck when it comes to music.
Understandably, it's such a personal thing, and what it evokes. How many memories in our heads are attached to a song?
Very true. Very true. I do agree with that.
And there's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of baggage with those memories sometimes too, and sometimes
yes.
It's not fair that I hate that fucking song. Nothing to do with nothing to do with this song.
It has everything to do with the song. No, I'm kidding.
But the memory attached to the song, or the person you've attached the memory to the song. Yeah.
There's a few of them though that are quite satisfying. I've been able to be in the moment where a song with a great little face to face and little F you back like happened in the concert, in the moment where I turned around and ran into the one person I wanted to do that to. I'm like, this is great. This is great. Maybe sometime I'll bring that album on. Probably the only song on that album I like, but
music plus Zen equals transcendence.
Right. My dog over here is like going nuts at the door, so mad that he's not out there. Like, he'll be okay. We lost Jaimie. He's gone. So we're just going to move on to my album, because I have a feeling he's going to want to save his for last. So my album I chose, I was trying to go along the years and everything that, or the genres. Obviously, for what you chose, I couldn't find anything in that genre that I felt like I knew the album and I was like, yeah, let's go. But when I was cruising through 2003, I did come across A Perfect Circle, 13th Step. There's something about that album, I guess, a little bit before, but more so after I got into A Perfect Circle a lot more. But that's what I brought. It was a nice random pull for sure. I'm happy with it because I was looking up a lot of fun facts on it and I was happy with it. But I forgot there's even better albums of theirs, so I didn't choose the best one.
Yeah, it's funny. I reading about it, it sounds better, I think, than what's actually there on what they recorded.
Right. Well, I mean, just like the background with
a couple of great.
He wrote a lot of that in for a lot of the album in between things with his tour at the time. And then he wasn't always seeing, Keenan wasn't always seeing eye to eye with one of the other members. So trying to find the right vibe or the right direction they were trying to go with the album, I noticed was a big thing. And then because of how long it took him to write with that album and add in his part to it, I see a lot of band members really changed up. I think about everybody but him.
Yeah, that's usually a sign of something.
Yeah, like I feel like it was just him and the other guy that didn't ever change. So I feel like that we're already on to my album, Jaimie. If you heard,
I could hear you the whole time. I was just being a dad. I was being a good dad.
Looking at the album, like you said, the history and the behind the scenes, it probably is more interesting than the album itself. I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars. That's probably just because I'm partial to Maynard. I'm partial to that genre. So maybe it's more of 4 stars for the genre and the fun with this album altogether. But I don't know, Jaimie, what did you think of it too?
I need to go for this one. Hold the fuck on. I mean,
it's that good. He's got to smoke. Too.
More like that disappointing. But I I mean, I never heard of this band before last week, and I'm like, who the hell is this? So I mean, I read the bio, and I'm like, this could be good. I'm like, this has potential. Holy fuck, was I disappointed? Holy
I did
fuck!
not choose the right album. I promise you, I did not choose the right album. Give them a try on some other albums, but
I mean, I'm like, I see names like, well, Tool sucks, but I see names like Manson. I see names like a lot of rock bands I freaking like, and I'm like, okay, if these people all came from those bands, then this should be a good collaboration. I love a good supergroup. I mean, Advantageous is one of the greatest things to ever grace this earth.
Yeah,
But
you
James
just fucking said
Yeehaw
you
for a
don't like
while.
Tool.
I am not a big fan of Tool. No.
Okay, not a big fan is better than saying I don't like Tool. I can handle that.
They have
Don't
decent.
hurt
They
my heart.
have
Don't
one.
hurt
They have
my
a few
heart.
decent. They have a few decent tracks. Don't oversell them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Chancey's brought a few of them on the show. Trust me, I listened to enough of their
I know,
albums
but
to
I'm
get a.
like, oh, I about had a fucking heart attack right there. Don't make me change my relationship status with you, Jaimie. Come on.
I mean, they're definitely not as shitty as Bush. Don't get me wrong, but a perfect circle. I just like most of the CD was very just under fucking whelming, very underwhelming. And then there was a few saving tracks, but the CD as a whole, I was just like, what the fuck? I'm like, I didn't even listen to my CD because I ran out of time. And I didn't really need to listen to my CD because I've heard all these songs so many times. I know them by heart. So I mean, I was listening to your CD at the end of the day, and on my way home from work, and I'm like, God, this music sucks. For driving. I'm like, I got 45-minute drive, and I got to listen to this shit. And then the last couple tracks saved it. But it was just, oh my God, I would easily give this album like a 1 out of 5, and that's being gracious.
Wow. Yeah, just be great. Alan, did you like it a little bit better than 1 out of 5?
I'm looking at my notes here. My general takeaway was moody, angsty, and atmospheric, a touch on the self-indulgent side, kind of dull as a whole.
As
I agree.
as Aaron from Yahoo Podcast would say, what a bunch of whiny bitches. But it's like their freaking sound guy got too high the day of recording and forgot to plug in their fucking instruments.
You know, there were a number of times during the CD when I thought, oh, shut the fuck up already.
Really? Yeah, I agree. I agree. I fucking agree. It was, oh my God. I didn't even want to, I kept having to resist the urge to skip tracks like halfway through and be like, I'm done with this track. Like I had to resist. I'm like, maybe it'll come in strong at the end. Maybe. And every time, nope. Big fat nope. But what were your top 5 in your CD, Jaimie? So let's get this. Let's take the knife out and let it bleed out already.
Oh dear.
Did you say something to me? I just cut out. Sorry.
I said, yeah. What's the top 5 songs off your album? So I can take the knife out of this thing and let it bleed out.
I'm so sorry she missed that. I'm so sorry you missed that. The first time it was wonderful.
I know, probably great, but whatever, Jaimie. Okay. Even though this album, at least during the premiere week, made it to number 2 on the Billboard. Like I said, not our strongest album, but number 5 for me was A Stranger. And number 4 was The Outsider. I do really like The Package for number 3. That was like a really strong start to the album. So I really liked that song. And I have to say number 2 is Pet. And number 1 is Weak and Powerless. I forgot how catchy that song was, and I forgot how they did play that on the radio. I did have honorable mention because it was an awkward ass song, and it was one that I too was like, when will you shut up? Was The Nurse Who Loved Me. Because I'm like, I remember being in the other room listening to it going, nobody loves you, like as I'm listening to it. So I remember having fun to that. That was my honorable mention though.
just for all the wrong reasons.
Right, exactly. I'm just like this. It does want to put you to sleep. It made for doing my chores a little difficult. But that's okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome. If you need to
I'm
go
not
to
saying.
sleep, here you go.
Honestly, I could put that on and fuck white noise. That shit will put you to sleep. But
Well, that with like the YouTube Zen channel, you'd be good. Golden. But I do have to say, on a Tool note on the side, there is a cover band that goes around locally for me, and I'm out of Iowa. Saturn Ascends. They do an amazing set where they do a great stage performance of Tool. Their sound is spot on. Being there for one of their first shows, that was when I very first met Chansey, who isn't here on the show today. So that will be a tie-in to Jeremy's album, which is kind of fun. But I feel like that's probably a big reason why I chose, is because I listened to Jeremy's album and then I had Tool memories, so I couldn't get a Perfect Circle or a Tool out of my head.
you know, it's funny.
Great. Great for acid trips, though.
You know, whenever Chancey bring Tool on the fucking show, I call them a tool for doing it. But
that's totally fine because that's when I first met him.
But what were your top 5 there, Alan? If you had 5 for this one?
Well, there's really 3, and everything else is kind of a hovering there. Let's say number 3 is Pet. Number 2 is Blue, and yeah, I liked Weak and Powerless. That I thought was a terrific track. I'd even say I enjoyed it.
I want to say that was their first single and probably really their only single that became relevant from that album. I could have chosen a totally better one than that, but yeah. Pet and Weak.
Yeah, I listened to this album 3 times. I really wanted to. I thought, okay, maybe on the second.
Why?
Because sometimes you listen the second time you go, oh, okay, now I'm starting to.
Or
hear
in the car, you know how you could be dazing off, and you forget, oh, I just did that hour-and-a-half drive. I did that with this music going down like to a 2-hour drive, and I'm like, I forgot what I was listening to, so I had to re-listen to it. I listened to the album like 3-4 times too.
God, no, I listened to this once. If I listened to it more than that, I might have to take a freaking gun in my mouth. But it's God. I managed to get a top 5. Barely. It only happened at the end. I originally thought I was gonna have a top 3, but my number 5 was Weak and Powerless because that is a decent song. Not great, a little too mainstream for me. But my number 4 was Gravity because that song was fucking awesome. My number 3 was The Outsider. If I'm not mistaken, Gravity is the one with the heavy ass like guitar, right?
I want to say yes because I remember making a joke about the heaviness of the Gravity, and that's how I could remember the song. So is that one other song that was very similar?
The Outsider. I think The Outsider actually had some metal to it as well, but
yeah, a little bit.
And then number 2, I had Pet because that song was just weird enough that it's my kind of thing. So I was like, shit, okay. I'm like, is he talking about an actual pet, like a cat or dog, or is he talking about a human? I couldn't figure that quite out. But I mean, he's talking. Actually, yeah, that's what it was. Because when I heard that song, I'm like, I am getting some freaking Chloroform Girl by Polka Dot Cadaver like vibes from this song. Like, it's the kind of vibes the song.
Yeah, there was a touch of that. I do have to agree. I didn't think of that directly, but there was a familiarity to it.
I mean, it's nowhere near as good as Chloroform Girl because that's an offshoot of Dog Passion Disco is Polka Dot Cadaver. But my number 1 had to be Blue because Blue was freaking really good. I actually enjoyed that song a lot. Like that was the first song that kind of surprised me in this album, and then everything else like kind of disappointed me horribly, except for those few other ones at the end. But I had just oh God. But I 1 out of 5, and I'm being so fucking generous even giving that a fucking rating. It should be just thrown in the fucking trash.
I just love how I'm not the fan favorite this week, and that's okay. I didn't like you either, Jeremy. No, it's okay. I really like your album. In fact, I just changed my rating for your album, so
yeah,
better to a better rating. I decided.
You better. But Yeah, I guess it's time to hit our third album of the night because this one is probably gonna take the longest to talk about anyway. And you see, I started listening to Theory Corporation's little snippets of songs here and there, and I was like, what the hell can I even? I'm like, what can I tie with this? And at first, it didn't come to me, and then I'm looking at the year it came out, and I got through the list, and there's like a few. 2003 was not a great year for music. I'm not gonna lie, but I I don't think it was, at least. I really don't think it was. I looked through and there's not a lot of bands.
I graduated that year. There was not a lot that came out that year.
No.
It was like years after.
2002 was a good year, and 2005 and 6 were good years.
2004, 5, and 6 were the best for me.
But I mean, I saw a lot of artists I like, but they were all compilation albums or remixes, like EPs, and I'm like, I'm not bringing a fucking EP on the show again. We've done EP episodes, and that's different. But like, I'm like, this is no. And then I get down the bottom list to like date unknown, and I'm looking at the albums. I'm like, that did come out this year, and I'm like, Chancey brought that in the show a long time ago, and I was like, and after listening to some of his album again, of Theory Corporation's album again, I'm like, you know what? This is definitely a match. I'm like, it is acid jazz, and I'm like, Dog Fashion Disco is very much acid jazz toned. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, I will break my one rule for this show, and this is officially the second album ever to be brought twice on this show, and the only other album that's done that is Michael Jackson's Thriller album. But,
so I'm gonna remind you that when I want to bring one on that's been a while, bite me.
Everybody gets Jaimie, just like Spider-Man. Everybody gets one. But
just one? Okay. Yes. Now that I know that, just one. Okay. It's on.
Good to know the rules.
But it's a new rule. But so folks, so it's official. The album I decided to bring on was Dog Fashion Disco's Committed to a Bright Future. And it's, in my opinion, it is the best I love Dog Fashion Disco. I love all their albums, but it is by far the best fucking album they have ever done. It is a complete banger from start to finish. And it's funny you mentioned that about like listening to her album multiple times, Alan, and that you think you'd like it more the second time, maybe, because that's what this album was to me. Like the first time I changed brought on the show, I wasn't that big a huge fan of it. I was still getting used to Dog Fashion Disco. It was like the second album of theirs I heard, and after listening to the songs over and over again, eventually I just grew to realize like the amazingness and like the little things you catch each time you listen to these songs over and over again. So it is the best album they've ever done. It's one of the few albums I can say in my life that you can listen to from start to finish and not get bored of it, like at any point. It always is changing.
I filled with joy when I listened to this album and when it started out and then it continued that vibe. I'm pretty sure I caught myself giggling. There's no other way. You can't be that angry when you listen to this. You can't be super hateful. It gets you in your feels and it gets you bouncing at the same time.
And it's but I want to hear what Alan thought of it. I'm dying to hear what Alan thought of it.
Oh, I like this album a lot. They're deeply ironic, multifaceted, adventurous. They're often quite funny. Lots of surprising circus and cabaret sounds. There were a couple of moments where I thought, God, they sound like Sparks. Sparks, and I was not a fan of Sparks, but just the. There's something smart happening. There's an intelligence behind the eyeballs here.
To it, there's something with it that it's like that just makes you do that. When Chancey introduced them to one of the other times, did he ever sing any of it? Because I'm telling you now. If we can find an episode to tell you to listen to Chancey singing this, you will love it. He does an amazing job to Dog Fashion Disco.
We did a serial killer bracket at one point and on a different show, and we were talking about John Wayne Gacy, and he did a full rendition of Pogo. He did a full rendition of Pogo the Clown. So
yes, because he does a great. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, he does a great Dog Fashion Disco and a great Volbeat voice. So you'll have to check that out. But yeah, this is great.
And
I love it.
I mean, me and Chancey have been spreading the word of Dog Fashion Disco now for a good 2 years, so I like to keep that mission going.
We're going to keep it going. You can't stop. Like
I tell everybody I meet that's into music about them because they're one of the fucking most like unbelievably amazing. And it sucks because they break up and get back together so freaking often that like, and they have so many offshoot bands that are good but not quite as good. And I mean, I would love to see them live, but they have not put out an album in God at least 6 7 years. And I mean, they Polka Dot Cadaver just put out an album for the first time in like a decade almost, but or not decade, but like 6 7 years as well. But it's they do long breaks between album, like they'll do like 2 or 3 albums, then they'll take a break, and then like they'll come back, do 2 more albums, do a break, and
And then
it's
they only tour in the West Coast or places that I can't get to, and it pisses me
I
off.
know they never come, they
I'm
never
in
leave like their home
Iowa.
territory.
I'm in
I mean,
Iowa.
they
Don't
just
ever listen to Jaimie. It's not Idaho, Iowa.
well,
Although
you
they're
say
originally from
From where?
somewhere,
they're originally from Rockville, Maryland,
yeah.
which is
Oh,
interesting.
maybe they would
Which was
do a little
interesting to
more
me.
East Coast.
I grew up in Baltimore.
Oh, that'd be nice to be out there. No, I guess I know a lot of these type of bands end up going to the West Coast and doing a lot of shows over there. So I guess maybe they
I
focus on the East Coast. Either way, I'm in the middle. Come see me.
I mean, seriously, they need to do a nation tour. They need to do a
Yeah,
nationwide, if not
I've not
world tour.
seen them in the area, so I would
And
love to see them come.
and the great thing is when I post out episodes and I tag them in it because I tag all the artists we talk about in every show. They are they're the only artists ever to actually give like a thumbs up like back like to like when they're in this my Instagram story and stuff. They'll actually give a thumbs up like cool, thank you for talking about us. But like they're humble. They're apparently at least a little bit humble from what I can get. They're not famous enough to be we're like, oh, you talk about us, big deal. Like they're not that
But
famous.
still,
Like they're just
that's really nice to hear. You know, bands they all have a personality, and sometimes those
yeah.
personalities aren't terribly nice. I remember when the first landed and became, you know, and they were touring, and my wife and I went to see them at the Wiltern in Los Angeles, and we were very excited. They had one big hit song. I forget the title, not coming to me, but one big song. It was like, wow, they had a hit. That was the one song they refused to play that night. I mean, this fucking attitude. It was like, what, you're going to take a shit on the fan? Like, everyone really wanted to hear you do that song live, guys. What the fuck is that? But
like,
that was, and they said,
that's like a one-hit wonder.
They said, we're not playing that song.
That is kind of weird. I've had that where like you expect to hear certain songs or hope to hear certain songs, but if it's that one song that actually made them famous or made or broke them like into the business, at least, like there's gonna be a big fan base from it. Like play it for them, not for you, for them.
They should be closing the show with it then. That should be the closer.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean,
that's what the entire Wiltern audience expected, and it never came. And so you walk out in the end with a kind of sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't understand your relationship with your fans, and it is a relationship, and if you're going to treat your fans like that, well, that's probably how you treat everyone else in your life. You
that's
treat
like
them
blue
like
balls.
shit.
That's like giving somebody blue balls. Like you're so excited for that one song.
Yep.
Bastards.
And for a lot of people, that's kind of why they came.
Yep. Because they want to hear that one song they like played live. Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of like Leonard Skinner, like when they wouldn't play Freebird for like 20 years.
What bands have to understand is that hearing music recorded is one thing. Hearing it live is completely different. It's transcendent. It's quasi-religious. And if you don't understand it, get the fuck out of the business. Really, you might be a talented songwriter, but stop performing live. Stop jerking people off because you don't understand the relationship that really you owe to your fans.
I like that.
Yeah,
yes.
you owe this to your fans. And if you don't understand that as an artist, you're just a stupid little child. You know, and you do not deserve the love you are getting from these people. Fuck off.
Exactly.
That's just my opinion.
I agree. I mean, everything you said is 100% true. So I fucking So I mean, seeing every band I've seen. Well, okay, seeing 95% of the bands I've seen live was a transcendent experience compared to actually just listening to the records in the car. Like a transcendent experience. I mean, Smash Mouth, yeah, they can go choke on dicks and die because they were horrible live. But
yeah, I've heard some horrible things live. Don't get me wrong, but
sure. Oh, they can fuck it up too. Yes, it's absolutely true.
But at the same time,
ruin the whole expectation.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like then I have an appreciation for the album itself and the work that they put in for the recorded version to get it to perfection. So I kind of try to look at it as a positive still that they must have put it in a lot of time to record the album if it sounded like shit live. And it's more than once. I won't name the bands. I won't name them, but it's more than once I've heard them. So.
But they can take that track that they played 1,000 times and okay, we're going to strip it down. We're going to approach it a little bit differently now for a bit. You know, right. Elvis Costello does that. He'll take a different. You know, Elvis Costello used to he traveled with a wheel because he had so many fucking amazing songs, and he'd just spin the wheel, and whatever song came up, that's what they'd play.
That's cool.
And sometimes if they would say, but let's come at this from a different angle, and they just start with a whole different rhythm structure.
Yeah.
And then find their way into the song. Well, that's cool. So yeah, at least the music it's a great catalog and it's still alive. And yes, you get the thrill of them playing it live, but you also get the thrill of them being creative with it live. And you're part of this whole fun, it's only going to happen tonight experience.
Different harmonies, different pitches, definitely.
But that's the nature of the relationship we have
all
with these artists.
And B chord, okay, we're going down south. We're just have fun. Something different. I know that I gave this album freaking 4 stars because I feel like you can do fun little things like that. There are some songs that stuck out to me the most, but I mean, I gave this 4 stars because if I see this live, I have a feeling it's going to change to 5 stars.
Oh, I mean, yeah. If I can ever see them do it, absolutely.
I have a feeling my love for all these songs will go to a 5 if I'm at a 4 already just listening to this album multiple times.
I mean, it's literally, if they did a commit to a bright future, it had to be like the 25th or it'd have to be like the 25th anniversary tour or something like that.
I'd be all right with that.
In a couple of years, I would 100% travel to see it somewhere. The picture they have on the picture they have on Spotify of them blasting out it just shows the guy with the saxophone fucking down almost on one knee, fucking just blaring it out. And it's they have no videos. They have one music video they've ever done. That's the crazy thing is they don't have they have no exposure outside of their actual albums.
That's really crazy because there are so many good tracks on this album. So many good tracks. Mm-hmm. I had a bunch of 5s on this album. Pogo the Clown.
It's just I only have that as an honorable mention, but Pogo the Clown. That is that I did think of John Casey for
sure. Here's the thing. I went to make a top list. And then I realized by the end of it that I was literally only missing one song. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just ranking the whole album. So I'm going to let Alan go first as the guest because I'll let him talk about the ones he really liked before I get into my long-ass list.
Well, the ones, all right, Acid Memories, Memoirs.
Yes. I love the fucking opening. That song is amazing.
It's just this...
I don't have enough.
It goes so many cool places. It's just it's kind of like an acid trip. Yeah, okay. They really bring that feeling alive, and that's the assignment. If you're gonna call a song that, you better bring it as much to life as you possibly can. And fuck if they don't. It's a really cool song. A little tour de force, let's call it.
God, yes.
Let's see. Well, Love Song for a Witch is hilarious. It's very funny. Yeah. Rapist Eyes. The title is problematic, but it's a really good song. I
had a hard time with liking that song too.
Really hard liking. I really like the song "Rapist Eyes," but it's a really good song. It's a good song.
It's funny because I heard their song I heard their spin-off band song "Chloroform Girl" first, and then I heard "Rapist Eyes" after that, and I was like, these songs kind of go together. They kind of go together, but
Also, that Deja Vu, terrific song.
Mm-hmm. I love that song.
Magical Band of Fools.
I love the fucking bass when that song opens. Oh my god, I could restart that song 1,000 times and not get tired of the bam, 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 bam. Like it's like, oh my god, it's orgasmic.
Hooked.
It's a music
Absolutely, it hooks you, it grabs you, and you're there. And there's the lyrics, the writing is just it's constantly takes you by surprise with funny little turns of phrases, really nifty little observations. I wasn't quick enough to write any of them down, but awfully clever, awfully clever.
Magic Band of Fool. It's like going to Oz, but in an acid trip, because it's like you're skipping through a field of flowers, and all of a sudden, vampires, werewolves. Like it's just like they go fucking. I love how they go from like jazzy to like metal in 1 second. You don't even see it coming if you don't know it's coming. It's just fucking incredible.
Really and truly, those absolute changes, those total changes of paces were really delightful and kind of really witty.
It makes you really go, ooh, witty. A little bit like, well, okay, yeah. All right.
So, bravo. Superb album. Superb.
I heard the acid jazz album and I'm like, I gotta bring Dog Passion. I gotta, and I can't. I'm not putting my stakes in any other album besides this one. I'm going to do something for the first time. I can't. Not someone who likes jazz. Like this album is a jazz haven. But my list, I mean, my first two are just like the songs. The only songs in this album I'll say they're mediocre, and those are Dr. Piranha and Plastic Surgeons. I mean, Dr. Piranha's. I mean, they both are great. Every song in this album is fucking amazing. So I'm not going to deny that. But these are just like this is the least of the best. That's what I'll say. It's the least of the best. Like that's my number 11. At 11, I put "Worm in a Dog's Heart" because I enjoy the fuck out of that song. I love the freaking organ in the beginning, like the freaking organ grinder in the beginning. Like it's almost Marilyn Manson-ish. My number 10 is "Castaway" because that song is fucking hilarious. I love that song. And my number 9 is their cover of Grease is fucking amazing. I love musicals, and Grease, like to hear their cover of Grease is just like so refreshing. Like it's
it's a funny choice to do a cover of all the songs in the world of that song. That one was it. What the fuck is this? It's a cover of Grease. What?
And I'm pretty sure it's the only cover they've ever done, but. It's and that makes it even better, but
it makes it really it's funny. It's just a funny idea. It's audacious and
I like that version better than the actual version now. So I'm like, I ain't mad at it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. Yeah, I like their version better.
And on the original 2003 release, it was actually like a hidden track at the end of the album. Like it wasn't even on like the track list.
Even better. It's like we just hit a better version that you guys are going to end up loving. I think that's a little cocky with a little bit of, humbleness by throwing it on the album, giving it a whirl, but hiding it.
Yep. And I mean, my number 8 and up, honestly, could all be interchanged depending on what mood I'm in that day. But my number 8 was actually, I actually wanted by a time to go back to the original episode this was on and listen to what my tops were just to see how it changed, but didn't get time to do that. But my number 8 was "Nude in the Wilderness" because I fucking love that song. Like, if I was the son of God, I'd be naked, nude in the wilderness. Like, it's fucking it's the way it opens. The whole fucking song is amazing. My number 7 was "Love Song for a Witch" because I live in Massachusetts and I've been to Salem, so and "Love Song for a Witch" is just a great way to open the fucking album. It's a great way to open the album. It just jumps right in. I love how they don't even do intros in any of their albums. That's a great thing. They just jump right into it.
Let me just say, as a first timer to their sound, it's absolutely, it's a total slap in the face. Like, and I'm not a metal guy. Metal's okay. I've certainly used a lot of metal in movies and TV shows, but it's like but then in the middle of the song, it kind of changes, and you go, "All right, who the fuck are these guys again?"
Yes, that it captures you good. I put it down as a strong start, and it got me pumped because I knew I was getting into. But that song, even though you know what you're getting into, it's a good start on the album.
Yeah, agree.
And then my number 6 was "Deja Vu" because I always enjoyed the fuck out of that song. I mean, I can't think of anything specific in that song, but I freaking always enjoy it. My number 5 was "Acid Memoirs" because, like you said, a full-on acid trip. Like it's just a full-on acid trip. Like it's going back and forth with the melodies, and it's just so amazing. I can't remember any lyrics off the top of my head at this point, but it's just.
It's an interesting song. It's you can listen to it a bunch of different times, and it never stops being interesting.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing, and the drums in that one are freaking incredible too. But my number 4 is Scores for Porn, because I mean that the first album I heard by them is called Adultery, and it's basically this whole story about this private eye trying to catch a couple that's cheating, like, and it's basically like almost a what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost a concept album in a way, and then when I heard this album, I heard Scores for Porn. It lines up with like the whole Adultery album perfectly. And the saxophone, I am a sucker for when they play saxophone in any of their songs. And Scores for Porn has a lot of sax in it, so I freaking love it. Number 3 is Magical Band of Fools, because I love that fucking song. We're the magical band of fools. Like it's just fucking. I can't even do it like the way they do it. It's just their voices are so perfect. And number 2 is Rapist Eyes. Yeah, I know the name has its issues, it's triggering, but to some people. But it never was a problem to me personally, because I listen to a lot of dark hardcore rap. But it's nothing compared to the shit I listen to. But Rapist Eyes is a fucking. It's almost like they make you fall in love with a serial killer. And between that and Chloroform Girl, it's like they're trying to make you fall in love with a serial killer, which is amazing that they could almost do that. They make you feel like sympathy for this person. But my number 1 is and always, always, always will be Pogo the Clown, because Pogo the Clown is one of the most, as someone who loves serial killers, like been researching them, I've known about John Wayne Gacy for many, many years of my life, decades, and I fucking love that song. And hearing Chancey sing it, Jamie's right, hearing Chancey sing that fucking like word for word is fucking hilarious. Pogo the mean, and it has that like that sweet jazz like singing to it the whole time.
It's really but that's what's so deliciously ironic about it. It's so dark, but the take is so light.
Yeah, I mean, I love the chorus. Pogo, you're gonna burn in hell. Like it's just and spoke to the devil, and when it gets metal, like in the middle, like spoke to the devil the other day, and Johnny's doing fine. Like it's just fucking, it's so fucking.
But
it just.
But it's not a minor chord. It's a major chord, isn't it? It's upbeat. It's not downbeat.
It gets a little downbeat metal in the middle, but like it's only for like a hot second, then it goes back to the upbeat. Like that's the way they do it. They don't ever bring you. They don't ever want to bring you down for a long time. They don't ever want to bring you down for a long time, and that's the great thing.
Well, they have to remind you what it's really about, but at the end of the day, yeah, they're still dancing in a graveyard.
I mean, there's 2 songs they do. Well, Draw Passion just was a song called Desert Grave that's on Adultery, and Chloroform Girl that Polka Dot Cadabra does are kind of almost like Johnny Cash stunt style songs, and they're freaking like these guys can do any genre they fucking want to touch, because they can really rule everything. Desert Grave, even though I hated it at first, just fucking grew on me. Like, 'cause I don't like country, but that just grew on me. Like, gonna dig you a desert grave. Like it's fucking it's. I mean, honestly, if you like this one, check out Adultery. It's funny. Like I mean, everything they do is hilarious, but Adultery and this one are fucking amazing. Other than that, I like certain songs in other albums, but those are the 2 best albums.
I plan to check out their entire catalog. So there.
Well, there you go. And I mean, fuck. Yeah, trust me, it's a wormhole you'll love going down. I did. It's one of my most played bands now, and last year your review on Spotify, like they were one of the freaking top 5 bands I listened to, and Chancey was like, "Told you, motherfucker!" I'm like, shut up.
Right.
But
well, Jaimie, it's one of the reasons that I'm grateful that you had me on, because now I know about Dog Trash and Disco.
Yep. As a friend of the show, Shannon, once said, those are 3 words that should never go together, but they work.
Right.
But Jaimie, what was your top 5?
Well, my honorable mentions start off with Pogo the Clown and Deja Vu. I feel like those are definite ones I have to mention. But the number 5 for me, it had a sound mix to a song I already know, a song from Shaman's Harvest off of their Broken Ones album. Is the song Broken Ones off of the Red Hands Black Deeds album. There's just something with that vibe. You're throwing in the Oregon and the circus folk vibe. The Nude in the Wilderness song to me just it really kind of got me going. I almost put that as my number 3, but I ended up sticking Plastic Surgeon in between. So they're my number 4. And number 3 is the controversial Rapist Eyes. I even feel weird saying it. Number 2, Worm in a Dog's Heart. There's just so many beats that brings you so many different directions. Like you feel like you're going this way, you're going down this road with the song, and then it's like, oh, never mind, we're going over here, and I'm okay with that. I that's what I love about them, is that they can put in a few different beats and vibes to one song alone, and I still enjoy it. And then number 1 for me, as I had mentioned before, was when I very first met Chansey. This is back in 2013, going to a Tool cover band concert with lots of acid involved. Acid Memoirs. There was him playing on his bass guitar that night. That was his first mentioning of Dog Fashion Disco. I don't know that we really ended up listening to any that night, but we ended up talking a little bit about it and just got on a whole music talk. So Acid Memoirs for me brings up like a whole like plethora of memories.
I mean,
which is,
and I will say, I forgot to mention this earlier, but in Rapist's Eyes, there's almost like that Grinchy like part of it, like you have the disposition that would make Hitler twitch. Like it's like they had like almost that like the Grinch in it.
Like
it's
awkward like about it that makes you go, but I still like this song. Now should I reevaluate it because of this part? Makes me double back a second and go, huh?
And just the chorus where they go into that, oh sweet rapist eyes, like it's, what have you done? It's like almost like a freaking Croner in the middle. Like it's I don't know. It's just like
Dr. Seuss book moment. I don't know. It made me feel like for sure that I'm just creeping along, just going with it. I feel like there's like a fun story to be told with every single one of these songs. I think that's the biggest reason to me why I can listen to their music so much, is that you can get a different message out of the songs, but ultimately, like, it's a very interesting compilation altogether. Like this album altogether was good. Altogether.
100%. And honestly, who hasn't known somebody in their life that they could say, like, they had rapist eyes? Like, everybody just has known at least one person in their life they could say that about. So
creepy. I don't think I can go with that, but creepy.
I mean, in some drunk moments in bars, I know I've referred to, like, look over at this person and be like, tell my friends, like, this dude's got some rapey eyes. Like, it's just, like it's a way of saying creepy eyes, but it's a mean guy way. But it's just, I love this album. I mean, I'm probably gonna be listening to this album at some point over the weekend, because I now need to listen to the whole thing, because I didn't get a chance to today. And I'm like, God damn it, I wanted to have like all this shit fresh in my head, but I'm like, I know these songs well enough I can fucking rank them any day of the week, because they all come up my Spotify at least every other day. At least one song does with the album, so it's fucking awesomeness sauce. But well, shit, folks, 3 albums down, and decent time. But what are you gonna say? You talk about 2 good albums and whatever Jaimie brought, and
wow, a whole nother cat of whatever Jaimie brought. Fuck off.
I'm pretty sure Chansey would have so much worse to say about it than I did. But
no, he would not. I highly doubt that. Highly fucking doubt that.
But folks, we thank you for sticking around with us tonight to enjoy this album talk. And Alan, where can they find you? Where can they find your work? I mean, I know you did Tales from the Crypt, but what else? What other shows have you worked on? I'm dying to hear like other shows you worked on.
I do several different podcasts where they can find me. There's the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. I'm still here. Am I unfrozen yet?
Yes, you're unfrozen. Yeah. You're unfrozen now. Yeah.
Okay. Hooray. All right. Well, now that I'm unfrozen, I'll tell you where you can find me. You can find me. I've got various different podcasts. There's the How Not to Make a Movie podcast at hownottomakeamovie.com, all separated by dashes. There's the Donor podcast at thedonorpodcast.com. It's the absolutely true story of how in the mid-1980s, he worked his way through medical school as an anonymous sperm donor. Jump forward a bunch of years, he become 27 years. He joined 23andMe, curious about his health genes, and no idea that the ramifications of adding his DNA to a growing DNA database. He lost his donor anonymity. Suddenly, 7 total strangers found Daddy, except 6 of them had no idea their actual biological father was this guy, a sperm donor. You have never heard a story like the donor.
That's the funny thing. That's my life. That's my life. I was a.
That is your life.
Well, not my life personally, but I was a donor baby, and because my dad had cancer and blah blah blah, and I did an Ancestry.com test and found out I have about a dozen half brothers and half sisters, and I now know who the donor is. So yeah.
That is part of the story of the donor. That is part of the story of the donor, but for Hal, it doesn't end quite so well. It ends very badly, but you've heard story like this because you exist in that community. I had never heard a story like this before, and most of the world has no idea what the donor conceived community has gone through. It's remarkable what you all are experiencing.
My one half sister actually worked on a podcast with a friend of hers about the same thing, but it focused on her story for like the first few episodes, and it started going to other people's stories about the same thing. But it's and we've had half brothers, half sisters who showed up, and they wanted nothing to do with it. A lot of them didn't know that they were that their father wasn't their father. So
yeah, it's that'll change your life. So that's what we knew. That's what the donor's about. Yeah.
We knew. My parents got divorced, and my mom told us when we were in high school because she wanted to piss us off. But
you were and some people they do not have that luxury. So that's the Donors, one of the podcasts that we do, and there's another one called The Hall Closet. One of the donor conceived people who gave me background, her name was Donna Hall, and her story was fucking bonkers. Donna, The Hall Closet is Donna's story. Donna grew up in the mid 1980s and early 90s. As part of a lower tier crime family outside of Philadelphia. The Halls weren't the Corleones from The Godfather, but they made national headlines just the same. Donna's mom, Phyllis, may be the worst mom ever. She spent 6 months in prison for child endangerment. Donna's stepfather, John Hall, was an absolute master criminal. He was the Philadelphia Police Department's favorite snitch and put more than 25 people behind bars on bullshit confessions that he concocted to keep himself out of legal jeopardy. And he had a lot of legal jeopardy. Donna described what it was like growing up in this crime family where virtually every single day, one of the adults in her family was committing one kind of a crime or another. And it's an amazing story, but it's not just a story of true crime like you've never heard it. It's also Donna's journey really to safety and empowerment. It's an amazing story. That's The Hall Closet at thehallcloset.com. The Hall Closet podcast.com. So that's a couple of the places where you can find me and some of the stuff I'm doing.
Well, I mean, shit. That last one sounds like it should be a movie. It should be like a TV show.
yeah, and that's part of how my little company, Costard and Touchstone, the way that I work on projects. Yeah, they would make great movies or TV shows, but the old way, I would have written the script and done the whole fucking song and dance, the dog and pony show, taking years and years and years just to get them to read the fucking script. But you know what? If you do it as a podcast,
people look to you.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
That's exactly right. And that part of what my little company wants to do is we want to flip the whole power structure away from the money and back to the content creator, the creators. And that's where I want the power to be. And so that's kind of, that's what my little company is trying to do. Well, first, we want to make the world a better place through storytelling. And second, we want to get rich off it. From movie and TV companies, could fuck them.
Oh, exactly. I find that as an admirable goal as any. That's a very admirable goal. But,
there you go.
Jaimie, where can they find you if they dare?
Well, you can typically find me when we're doing here on Tuesdays or, well, I guess randomly Thursdays. I have not been able to join on our Saturday brackets yet, but I'm here with the Maniacal Music Musings along with my random showings on Bracket Bastards, and those are on Sundays if I do jump on there. Otherwise, you can catch me on Facebook, and that's got all of my information from there. All of it in one spot, right there. Facebook, the Book of Faces.
Yes, folks, she has not been on Saturday brackets just yet, but we're hoping that a week from this Saturday she can come on, finally. It's a topic that I don't think she would want to miss. But you can find both your musers on Facebook being broadcast on the Squatchy Largefoot page. I don't know who this, but...
my squishy.
I don't know who this Squatchy. Fucking make me do it again. God damn it! I don't know who this. I don't know who this Squatchy figure is. He's just a bipedal Sasquatch that's trained by Arcturians to speak, and he likes to promote my shows. I can't explain it. Or you can find us on Facebook as the Uncensored, Unapologetic, and Untamed U-Cubed Podcast Collective Facebook group. You can find us on XXBaby in the Gram as that Juggalo Bastard. You can find us on TikTok, as long as it exists, as that Juggalo Bastard Podcast. And you can, of course, find us on YouTube, the only place to see every episode we've ever done, all 115-ish of them. So, and all the specials we've done as well. That's the only place to see them all. So go watch the videos and see our smiling, pretty faces. Yes, I'm prettier than my previous co-host, but I can't say that anymore. But come back next week, folks, as we are having a guest who was on my paranormal show a good year and a half ago, and we reconnected, and he's come to my music show. So we're gonna go take a trip back into the 70s next week. Ooh. Well, for the most part, at least so far. But come check it out. Until then, have a good night, everybody.